After 30 years away from motorsport, they launched a multi-million-pound plan to put MG back on the racetrack. Junior World Cup rallying, the British Touring Car Championships, and most expensively of all, the Le Mans Endurance Race. They were going for it. Now, racing's exciting, it's glamorous, and it gets you noticed. It also eats millions for breakfast. Millions the MG team could ill afford.
They had a tiny budget, a tiny company. So they went back to racing, but it had to be done on a shoestring budget. They wanted the maximum amount of bang for the minimum input. And what you have to do then is cobble together a program.
They hired professionals to help strike sponsorship deals, but it quickly became clear they were innocents in the racing world.
There was a massive muddle in terms of what they were trying to do, and there was no clear direction as to where the motorsport programme was going.
But did you ever feel that they were out of their depth when it came to motorsport?
Very out of their depth. I think they should have taken notice of more people that they actually employed. You know, they had Mark Blundell. Yeah, fantastic.
That's right, Mark Blundell, voice of Formula One and former Le Mans winner. The bosses brought him in as a driver and advisor. He liked them personally, but professionally was less than impressed.
The biggest contact for me was John Edwards and Nick Stevenson, and those guys were great guys. To be honest with you, I think the problem was that there was disarray, and there was disarray at so many different levels, and there was no answers coming from any particular level that you could never get a decision made. They thought they were going to turn up at Le Mans, big splash, do 24 hours of racing, have a result and walk away. It doesn't work like that. They never actually allocated enough money to go along and do the testing and do the legwork because they didn't know. They had no experience from day one of what was required.
Amazingly, while MG Rover Motorsports needed more money, the bosses were happy to pass up offers of cash. Potential sponsors found they couldn't give their money away. I thought it might be interesting to meet a man who tried to offer Rover a six-figure sum in sponsorship. I say tried.
I must have made probably a couple of phone calls to their motorsport management department, spoke to who I thought was the senior guy there, said he was interested and would get back to me. And he said he'd get back to me. And he said he'd get back to me.
The waiting went on. After 2 months, he wrote to MG Rover Chief Executive Kevin Howe, underlining his disappointment at their lack of interest. Howe wrote back, saying other business had pushed his ideas into the background.
I found their attitude somewhat strange because usually companies such as ours are courted assiduously by a number of companies for sponsorship.
Lawrence eventually found someone at MG Racing to take his money, but even six-figure sums didn't last long. There was one thing, though, on the racing circuit the Rover guys did excel at: hospitality. Here, it seemed, no expense was spared.
Tom and Kit arrived by helicopter, and they did a live performance in the hospitality suite for all the guests. It was fantastic. There was live music. It was open 24 hours a day. They built their own hotel, and it was 300 metres down the park. It was fantastic. I mean, you know, it was amazing.
Private planes to the Le Mans, hotels being erected at Le Mans with our brand on the hotel, a lot of hospitality. But it struck me it was more jolly than business. It didn't strike me it was any more than an excuse for a very good party.
They did spend an awful lot of money. They put on a fantastic show and almost beat Audi. Not in the racing, but in terms of the show that they put on behind the scenes.
On the track, there was enormous public support for the MG team.
It's a huge feeling because Le Mans is special in its own right. You've got 80,000 to 100,000 Brits travel across like a pilgrimage every year. But when MG said they were coming back to racing, all of a sudden, those 80,000 people, you know, half of them are at least wearing something connected with MG. And by the time you get to the actual race itself, you're walking on air.
But despite all the razzmatazz, MG Rover were out of the race by halfway, overshadowed by much richer rivals.
At the end of all of it, Audi also had $50 million budget to run their cars on the circuit. MG Rover did not. And, you know, that's probably the biggest issue in terms of what people then saw perception-wise. They looked at it and went, they've spent all their budget on entertainment, they've done nothing with the cars. In motorsport, that's a no-no.
The hangover from an underfunded motorsport programme was huge, and it wasn't just because of the extensive hospitality. You had disaffected drivers, cars in the pits, and sponsors ready to take their money elsewhere. Even then, the Phoenix bosses just couldn't get it right.